everybody. My name is Michael Shermer. I'm the publisher of this magazine, Skeptic Magazine. This is my third time to Puebla. Is this a great conference or what? Are you having fun? Wow. I'm having fun. Thanks to Andrés for putting this on. It's really phenomenal. What I want to talk to you today is about belief, believing brains, and a little bit about skepticism. I want to teach you how to be a skeptic. This is what Skeptic Magazine looks like, by the way. You can pick it up by going to our webpage at skeptic.com. And each one has a particular theme to it. For example, the one on the upper left there on the future of intelligence, we wanted to know, are people getting smarter or dumber? Well, I'm from Los Angeles, so I have an opinion about this myself. But it turns out that people are getting smarter. 3 points, IQ scores going up every 10 years for the last 90 years. So you youthful people, you students, you're a lot smarter than me. And so we have great expectations for you to go out there and do something. Artificial intelligence. When will computers achieve human-level intelligence? You've seen these amazing robots earlier today. Well, we concluded from this that we are 5 years away and always will be. This turns out to be a very difficult problem. I'm optimistic but realistic, always a little bit skeptical. And in any case, I just want to propose for next year's conference here that may very well be our last conference ever because the world's going to end in 2012, so we're told. We even have, if you want to become a member of the Skeptics, you can meet our dog. We have a skeptical dog. Now, the brain is a belief engine. That is, we can't help but form beliefs. We are pattern-seeking primates. We connect the dots. A appears connected to B. Whether it's Pavlov's dog up there in the upper left corner, you ring the bell, you give him some food and he salivates. You ring the bell, you give him some food and he salivates. You ring the bell and he salivates. He's learned. He's connected A to B. That's called association learning. That's classical conditioning. Or you put the rat in the box and you train him to press the bar to get the food. That's operant conditioning. He's associated the bar press with the food. A is connected to B. And I used to do this when I was a student. When I was your age in college, I worked in a Skinnerian lab, which we trained pigeons and rats. I just thought, since we have so many students, I would show you what it looked like back then. This was a computer. That has less computing power than your telephone does. And a lot of you students won't recognize these, but these are called pencils. And we used to use those. And before Excel spreadsheets, those were data sheets. So this was one of my pigeons, and I was training him to press the left key or the right key, and if we gave him twice as many reinforcements on the left key, would he press it twice as many times? The answer is not quite, but what we discovered was that if you randomly give him a reinforcement, no matter what he was doing just before you gave him the reinforcement, let's say he spun around this way and touched his wing on the wall, if you got a reinforcement right after that, he repeated that behavior. That's called superstition. Superstitious learning or magical thinking. And if you think it's just the subject because he has a tiny little bird brain, just go to Las Vegas, Nevada, and watch the superstitious process going on there. I call this process patternicity, the tendency to find meaningful patterns in both meaningful and meaningless noise. So in there we make two kinds of errors. A false positive is believing a pattern is real when it isn't, and that's a type 1 error. Or a false negative is not believing a pattern is real when it is. Okay, let's do a thought experiment. Imagine you're a hominid on the plains of Africa 3.5 million years ago, and you hear a rustle in the grass. Is it just the wind, or is it a dangerous predator? Well, if you assume that the rustle in the grass is a dangerous predator, and it turns out it's just the wind, you've made a type 1 error, a false positive. You thought A was connected to B, but it's not. But that's a low-cost error to make. If, on the other hand, you believe the rustle in the grass is just the wind and it turns out it's a dangerous predator, you're lunch. Congratulations, you've just been given a Darwin Award for taking yourself out of the gene pool early before reproducing. And we are the descendants of those who tended to make that assumption. That is, the lesson of patternicity is that we evolved this rule of thumb. Believe everything is real just in case it is real and dangerous. Because if it's not real and not dangerous, then it doesn't matter. So let's look at some examples of how our brains find meaningful patterns in random noise. What do you see here? A horse, that's right. A horse, is a horse, of course, unless it's a frog. How about here? What do you see? This apparently random pattern. This is a little unfair because I have it upside down. Let's do it right side up. Now what do you see? Some of you see the cow. Some of you don't see the cow. All right, I'll prime your brain. By putting the red line around the cow, I've primed your brain to see the data in a certain way. Go backwards on that slide. Now you still see the cow even better because I gave you the prime in the first place, right? Let's look at another one. What do you see here? A dog. Sure you do. Those of you that didn't see it, there he is. How about here? What do you see? You see the planet Saturn? Yes, that's right. How about here? What do you see? Nothing? That's right, because there's nothing here. I was just testing you. By the way, if you did see something, see me afterwards, because it means you have problems with your brain. No, I'm just kidding. Often what we think about influences what we see in random patterns. So of course, because we've all been hypersensitive about the environment and saving marine mammals, you all see the dolphins here, right? Yes? See, there's a dolphin, that's a dolphin. That's a dolphin tail there, guys. How about here? What do you see? I know what you see. Don't you be shouting it out now. It's probably the same thing close to what you might see here, which is, of course, because we have such high fashion in Los Angeles where these pictures were taken. You know that these are advertisements for sandals. Those are feet. But, of course, the madmen, the advertising men from Madison Avenue, know that if we just give you a small pattern to match a model that you already have in your brain, you'll interpret the information coming in to match that model you already have. And that's how we trick ourselves this way. How about this? Again, because we're so, don't you be shouting it out now, because we're so sensitive to the environment and saving electricity to use special light bulbs, you see a lamp here, right? Of course you do. How about here? This is a forced perspective illusion. As long as you look at the bottom half, you're okay. But if you look at the top half, it becomes a conflicting model. And so I rotate it, and you see it's a forced perspective fixed picture. The Impossible Cradle illusion is another way of tricking our brain. We have models in our brain for angles and curves and boards and how they're supposed to behave from front to back and back to front, and they're not supposed to switch, and it does. Now I hear you say, oh, Shermer, that's easy to fool the brain in 2D. Well, here's the Impossible Cradle illusion in 3D by my friend, the late Jerry Andrus, the magician who specialized in creating 3D illusions out of 2D illusions. You want to know how it's done? It's a cool trick. Perspective is everything. The photographer is off to the left. But even knowing how it's done, the illusion is still powerful. So the lesson of these illusions is that it's easy to be fooled into believing things that are not real. Be skeptical. Here's some others. Look at this for 20 seconds. Stare at it. Don't blink. Stare at it for 20 seconds and watch what happens. It just disappears right off the screen. This is an afterimage effect in which it's invisible. Even what you think you see may not even really be there. Of course, you see a face. Sometimes evolution created our brains to see certain things like faces much more readily than other things because faces are so important to us. You recognize this fellow, but if you'll notice, one of them's a little odd than the other one. Which one looks a little strange? The one on the left. So I'll rotate it so the one on the left is now the one on the right. So what's going on here is that we have two facial recognition software networks in our temporal lobe just above your ears in your brain. One that sees rapid facial recognition that it's a face, it's somebody I know. The other one analyzes the details, the nose, the ears, the eyes, the mouth. So when you think you have a deja vu experience, it's not a paranormal experience. All it is that you're getting a match, and you think it's a close match to the model you already have in your brain. You think, I think I know you. I think we met. Maybe we did. Maybe we didn't. And what you're doing is you're collecting more data there. So faces pop out, like the face on Mars, which when taken close up turns out to just be an eroded mountain. But if you squint, the face will pop back out. Because by squinting, you're reducing the granularity of the data from fine grain to coarse grain, and that triggers your facial recognition software. There's the happy face on Mars. There's the Indian head in Canada. That's about a 10-mile wide valley. There's a face on a garage door from shadows of a tree. Here's a double image here of a man looking forward and looking straight at you. Here's a face inside of a tumor. This was discovered last week. It's an angry tumor. Here's the nun bun. Religion often influences how we perceive things in the environment. Here's Our Lady of the Chicago Underpass, a water stain visited by many religious people. Some people that are Catholic in particular, maybe here in South America and Mexico, saw the Pope in this bonfire. Here's the Virgin Mary on a grilled cheese sandwich, which I got to hold, sold for $28,500 on eBay. Does it really look like the Virgin Mary? I don't know. To me, it looks a little bit more like Madonna. Or perhaps Jane Russell. Here's the Virgin Mary on the side of a bank building in Clearwater, Florida, that Richard Dawkins, James Randi, and I visited many years ago on a Good Friday when people were there to be healed in their crutches and wheelchairs. It was actually a sad case because when you walk around the side of the building, it turns out that all the glass is stained by these, the mineralized water. And so is it really a miracle of Mary, or is it a miracle of Marge? I'm not a Catholic, but I am a Simpsons fan, so that's what I saw when I saw that. So to wrap it up, let's go back to our thought experiment. You're a hominid on the plains of Africa 3.5 million years ago. You hear a rustle in the grass. Dangerous wind, dangerous predator, or just the wind? What's the difference between these? The wind is an inanimate force. A dangerous predator is an intentional agent, and I call this agenticity, the tendency to infuse patterns with meaning, intention, and agency, often invisible from the top down. So it's not just simple patterns and illusions, but our belief in things like souls and spirits and ghosts and gods and demons and angels and aliens and intelligent designers and government conspiracists and all manner of invisible agents are believed to haunt our world and control our lives. It's the basis, I think, of animism and polytheism and monotheism and aliens and conspiracy theories. That one's not true, just in case you were wondering. We know that if you poke around and stimulate that green lobe, the temporal lobe, people will have these profound religious experiences. They're coming from inside the brain, not out there, inside here. We know if you probe deeper into the amygdala and the limbic system, you can generate feelings of intense meaningfulness and connection with God. You can generate out-of-body experiences and near-death experiences through oxygen deprivation, for example, through accelerating in a centrifuge. Or by stimulating that red dot on the temporal lobe, you can get somebody to float out of their body, in their head. They're just lying there in the bed. They're not doing anything. You can put on the God helmet, which I did here at this lab, in which I bombarded my temporal lobes with electromagnetic radiation to experience God. The lesson here is that all of our beliefs are shaped by our genes, our parents, our siblings, peers, teachers, mentors, books, TV, the internet, culture. So be skeptical. Be skeptical of what you see on TV. Be skeptical of what you hear on the radio, what you read in books, and especially what you're told by your politicians and religious leaders, anybody who's an authority. You should even be skeptical of me. Be skeptical of the skeptics. And so our believing brains can even be fooled by ourselves. So I'm going to finish up with one short video clip. It's a very powerful example of the power of belief, expectation, and then a little twist at the end when the expectation is violated in a very humorous way. So let's run this video now.
This is the venue they chose for their fake auditions for an advert for lip balm.
We're hoping that we can use part of this in a national commercial, right? And this is a test on some lip balms that we have over here. And these are our models who are going to help us, Roger and Matt. Okay. And we have our own lip balm, and we have a leading brand. Okay. Would you have any problem kissing our models to test them? You wouldn't? No. think that was fine?
That would be fine.
Okay. So that this is a blind test, I'm going to ask you to go ahead and put a blindfold on. Okay, now can you see anything?
No.
Hold up so you can't even see down.
Okay.
It's completely blind now, right?
Yes.
Okay. Now what I'm going to be looking for in this test is makes the lips, okay, the texture, right, and maybe if you can discern any flavor or not.
Okay.
Have you ever done a kissing test before? You're excited? Take one step in. Okay, now I'm going to ask you to pucker up big, and lean in just a little bit, okay? Okay. All right. Jennifer, how did that feel?
Good.
Oh my God!
Thank you very much. Thank you so much. Really appreciate that. Thank you for having me again. Thank you, Andreas.